Leon Scott Kennedy sat in his car, staring at the flickering vacancy sign of a dingy roadside motel just outside Raccoon City. His duffel bag sat untouched in the back seat. It was the night before his first shift as a rookie officer with the RPD, what should have been a proud beginning to his law enforcement career. But something didn't feel right. He had tried calling the department multiple times that week. No one picked up. Even the onboarding coordinator, who had been friendly over the phone just days before, had gone silent. When he left a voicemail, it felt like screaming into the void. The city itself had been on the news lately. Rumors of a string of bizarre murders, people disappearing. The phrase cannibal killings had even made headlines on local stations. Most thought it was just another urban panic. But Leon had read the police reports that had leaked. There was something off about it all. Victims ripped open. Bodies vanishing from the morgue. Unofficial lockdowns. Some higher up was trying to bury something. He should have stayed away. But Leon didn't turn back. It wasn't in him. He joined the force because he believed in protecting people, even if the city itself seemed to be repelling him like a bad omen. That night, he slept in full uniform, boots by the bed, service weapon on the nightstand. The room smelled of cheap bleach and mildew. At 5 a.m., unable to rest, he got up and left for the city. He never made it to roll call. As he neared the city limits, the roads became strangely quiet. No morning traffic, no delivery trucks, no joggers, just stillness. Then he spotted it, a gas station, lights flickering, a cruiser parked outside with the driver's door wide open. Leon stopped. He approached carefully, calling out, "RPD, is anyone here?" No answer. Then, crash, a scream. Inside, the store was chaos. Blood smeared across the floor. A woman sobbed behind the counter, clutching her side. A man stood over her, chewing something wet. When he turned, part of his face was missing. Exposed jaw, black, dead eyes. Leon pulled his weapon. "Freeze!" The thing lunged. 2 shots. It kept coming. A third dropped it. The woman's sobs turned into gasps. "They're everywhere." Leon's ears rang. His hands shook. His first official action as a cop had just been killing. A man? A monster? He had no words. Just action. Helping the survivor outside, he saw the city skyline in the distance. Plumes of smoke curled into the sky. Faint gunshots echoed on the wind. Something terrible had happened in Raccoon City, and Leon Kennedy had just walked into it. Tomorrow would not be his first day on the job. It would be the beginning of his war. The patrol car's engine growled as Leon sped down the empty street, knuckles white on the steering wheel. Every block was worse than the last. Bodies lay strewn across sidewalks, some half-eaten. Fire escapes dangled loose like the city itself was coming apart. Sirens wailed in the distance, then abruptly cut out. Then, headlights. A motorcycle raced across the intersection ahead, veering wildly and skidding to a halt. The rider tore off their helmet, revealing a young woman, her hair clinging to her face from sweat and rain. She looked right at him. "Hey!" she shouted, panting. "Are you with the police?" Leon threw the cruiser into park and jumped out, gun at the ready. "Yeah, Officer Kennedy, RPD?" "Claire Redfield," she said quickly. "I'm looking for my brother, Chris. He's a cop here, but I haven't heard from him in weeks." Before Leon could respond, a low growl rumbled from the shadows. A figure stumbled from the alley beside them. Limbs twisted, skin blistered and gray. Then another and another, a mob. Dead eyes locked onto them. "Get in!" Leon shouted. Claire didn't hesitate. They dove into the car, and Leon peeled out, tires screeching. The zombies slammed into the windows and trunk, clawing and snarling. Claire turned to him, breathless. "What the hell is going on in this city?" "I don't know," Leon muttered, "but we're not staying to find out." Their escape was short-lived. As they turned onto Main Street, an oil tanker loomed ahead. Driver slumped over the wheel. A horn blared. The truck jackknifed. "Hold on," Leon yelled. The tanker slammed into a bus, erupting into flames. The explosion lifted the police car into the air, glass shattering, metal folding inward. Leon and Claire were thrown in opposite directions, separated by roaring fire. Leon hit the ground hard. Dazed, ears ringing, he crawled to his feet. "Claire?" He shouted into the smoke. No answer. Flames cut off the road behind him. He staggered forward. Then he saw it. The Raccoon Police Department rising from the street like a monolith. Its Gothic facade cracked and broken, windows shattered. Floodlights flickered. The courtyard was littered with shell casings. He ran, dodging between burning wreckage, fending off shambling corpses with quick shots and desperate pushes. When he finally reached the front door, he slammed it behind him and collapsed against it, gasping for breath. Inside was worse. The lobby was deserted, but soaked in blood. Filing cabinets overturned, desks smashed. The welcome banner, "New recruits welcome," hung torn, swaying above the check-in desk. A cruel joke. Leon stepped cautiously forward. Then, static crackled from a nearby monitor. A security feed flickered on, showing a bleeding officer in the East Wing. "This is Marvin Branagh," the voice groaned. "If anyone's left, please, help us." Leon stared into the camera feed, his heart pounding. He holstered his pistol and whispered to himself, "All right, time to earn the badge." The station was silent, but not still. Leon moved down the east hallway, gun raised, flashlight cutting through the dark. The fluorescent lights overhead buzzed and flickered. The deeper he went, the more the station lost its polished charm. Paint peeled, blood pooled beneath doors, shell casings glinted on the floor. At the end of the corridor, a wounded officer leaned against a desk, his uniform soaked in crimson, a thick trail leading from the front lobby. Marvin Branagh looked up with glazed eyes, wincing. "You made it," Marvin rasped. "You the rookie?" "Leon Kennedy," he said, kneeling beside him. "What the hell happened here?" "Hell," Marvin coughed. "Started a few nights ago. Officers went missing, then citizens. Then they came back, different. We tried to hold the station, but..." His voice caught. "It's just me left now." Leon tore open his medical kit, applying gauze. "I'm gonna get you out of here." "No," Marvin said firmly. "Forget me. This whole building's a maze. Someone did that on purpose. Locked doors, hidden passages. This place used to be a museum before it was a station." Leon raised an eyebrow. "That explains the giant statues." Marvin smirked, then winced. "You want to make it out? You'll need the 3 medallions. Statue puzzle in the main hall. They unlock the underground passage. Supposedly." Leon stood. The idea of puzzles in the middle of a biohazard disaster sounded ridiculous, but everything so far already defied reason. "And the others?" Marvin shook his head. "I don't know, if there are any." Determined, Leon began exploring. The station was larger than it looked from the outside. Every corridor reeked of death and decay. He found torn journals, personal notes, one written by a rookie named David who described strange orders, sealed wings of the building, and whisperings about something in the basement. In the dark archives, Leon encountered his first licker, a grotesque creature with exposed brain tissue, long claws, and no eyes. It dropped from the ceiling in complete silence, skittering toward him. He barely escaped with his life, ducking into an office and barricading the door with filing cabinets. Leon's mind reeled. These weren't just zombies. Something else was mutating. Something biological, designed. He eventually found the medallions, each guarded by more twisted abominations. Along the way, he caught flickers of movement on security monitors. Someone else was inside the building. A woman in red, moving with unnatural precision. Then, just as he placed the final medallion to the statue's base, a deep rumble echoed through the station. A new door opened, revealing stairs that spiraled into the darkness beneath the city. Leon didn't hesitate. He had to know what was under Raccoon City, and what the RPD had been hiding all along. The stairwell descended endlessly, carved into ancient stone beneath the police station's foundation. Leon's boots echoed off the damp walls, the air growing colder with each step. This place wasn't just hidden. It was deliberately buried. He knew instinctively. This wasn't city infrastructure. This was a secret. At the bottom, a rusted security door creaked open into a subterranean garage. Broken lights flickered overhead, casting pale shadows over scattered vehicles and debris. A red service elevator stood at the far end, half lit and trembling with movement. He approached cautiously, gun raised, only for the doors to slide open and reveal her. The woman from the security feed. Long black hair, red dress, confident posture. She didn't flinch when she saw him. "FBI," she said smoothly. "Stay out of my way." Leon frowned. "You're not FBI," she smirked. "You're smarter than you look." Before he could question further, something crashed in the distance, metal against metal. Something huge. "Forget it," the woman said, already turning. "You want answers? Keep up." He didn't know her name, her mission, or if she was even telling the truth. But he followed. Together, they moved deeper into the underbelly of the city, through access tunnels, reinforced labs, and sewage corridors crawling with infected. The deeper they went, the worse it got. Mutated rats, bodies bloated from viral exposure, acid-melted remains. Then came the sound, a thundering roar that vibrated the walls. Leon turned a corner and froze. There, blocking the narrow passage, stood a hulking figure, once human, now grotesquely deformed. Its right arm had become a twisted mass of claws and pulsating flesh. One bloodshot eye stared from its shoulder. It didn't speak. It simply charged. Leon opened fire, but it didn't slow. The impact hurled him across the hallway. His back slammed into the concrete wall. Stars danced in his vision. The creature advanced, shrieking. Leon rolled, barely avoiding a strike that crushed a steel pipe beside his head. He emptied his magazine into its chest, ducked, and managed to grab a pipe to swing. Desperate, raw survival. The creature shrieked and fled into the darkness, wounded. Leon staggered back to his feet. The woman in red was gone. Shaken, bleeding, Leon examined the wreckage. Claw marks across the concrete. Blood trails. The remains of umbrella security badges. He didn't know what that thing was yet, but he would soon. Its name was William Birkin, and it was only evolving. Leon limped through a damaged security corridor, ribs aching from the last encounter. Blood crusted on his sleeve, but he kept moving. The elevator that had brought him down here was dead now. If he wanted out, he'd have to press deeper into Umbrella's guts. A child's voice echoed from somewhere distant. Muffled, frightened, he turned toward it, gun ready. Moments later, he nearly collided with Claire, alive, scratched, breathing hard. "Leon," she gasped. Relief flooded her face. "You're okay?" He couldn't help but smile, if briefly. Still standing. Barely. Behind her, a young girl clung to her arm, small, pale, eyes wide with terror. "This is Sherry Birkin," Claire explained, crouching beside the girl. "She's lost, and I think her parents are involved in all this." Leon knelt. "Hey there, Sherry. You're safe now, okay?" But the girl didn't answer. She only looked behind her, trembling. Something had been following them. Together, the trio pushed onward. Claire explained what she'd uncovered. How Umbrella had used the Raccoon Police Department to shield its illegal operations, how the outbreak wasn't an accident, and how Sherry's mother, Dr. Annette Birkin, was one of the lead scientists on the G-Virus project. Leon felt cold. "That thing I fought down here, it was human once. It had a shoulder eye." Claire nodded grimly. "That was Sherry's father, William Birkin. He injected himself with the virus when Umbrella tried to steal it." Sherry whimpered. "He's still looking for me." Leon's blood ran colder than the air around them. "He's tracking her?" Claire nodded. "The virus recognizes genetic ties. He's protecting her. Or maybe claiming her." The thought was unbearable. Leon's training had taught him how to face violence, not corruption this deep, or monsters this personal. They found a moment of shelter in an old control room. Claire tended to Sherry while Leon restored power. Files scattered across the room described G-virus development, rapid mutation, regenerative traits, neural degeneration. They hadn't made a bioweapon. They'd made an apocalypse seed. Just as Claire laid Sherry down to rest, a tremor shook the walls. Then a familiar, heavy footstep. Leon grabbed his gun. It's him. William Birkin had returned, bigger, angrier, more twisted than before. The war for Sherry's life and the truth behind her family's sins had begun. Leon crouched behind a cargo crate deep in Umbrella's underground train platform. Rainwater leaked from the ceiling, the scent of oil and cordite thick in the air. Across from him, she emerged again, Ada Wong. Still mysterious, still dangerous, but this time, she saved him. Earlier, she had appeared from the shadows as he battled a swarm of infected. Her gunshots were precise, effortless, like she'd done this 100 times. Leon had demanded answers. Who was she really? FBI? Mercenary? Something in between? "I'm here to recover the G-Virus," she said coolly. "That's all you need to know." But Leon wasn't satisfied. Not anymore. "You're not telling me everything," he said. "Why the secrecy? Why are you even helping me?" Ada paused, looking at him, not with suspicion, but something closer to regret. "Because you're a good man, Leon," she said, almost too quietly. "Too good for this place." In those words, something shifted between them. Later, as they traversed an abandoned Umbrella lab, Leon caught her studying the servers. Fast, efficient, like someone used to stealing intel. The tension crackled. "You've done this before," he said, narrowing his eyes. "You're not FBI, are you?" Ada didn't deny it. Instead, she kissed him, a whisper of something real or a distraction? Leon didn't know. But for a moment, the horrors around them faded. Then came the betrayal. They found Dr. Annette Birkin, armed and bleeding. She shot at Ada, screaming, "She's a mercenary! She's going to sell the virus!" Leon stepped in front of Ada instinctively, only to realize too late that Annette was telling the truth. Ada had the sample, and she was running. He caught up to her on the catwalk above the lab core. The air shimmered with heat from the reactor below. She held the G-virus in one hand, her pistol in the other. "Move," she said, pain in her voice. "I can't," Leon replied, aiming his gun. They stood there, two people who had found something real in the middle of hell, torn apart by purpose. Then Annette fired. Ada stumbled. The catwalk collapsed beneath her. Leon lunged, catching her hand just in time. She dangled over the void, flames licking below. "Take my hand," he cried, straining. Her grip loosened. "Let me go." "No, don't you dare!" But she smiled softly, sadly. It's too late. Her fingers slipped. She fell. Gone. Leon knelt at the edge, fist clenched. Somewhere deep inside, something hardened in him. He stood, turned toward the final elevator. No more lies, no more secrets, only survival. And justice. Alarms wailed like dying sirens as red emergency lights pulsed across the facility walls. Leon sprinted through the underground umbrella lab, lungs burning, boots pounding against steel grates. The automated voice echoed through the corridors. "Warning! Self-destruct sequence initiated. Facility will detonate in T-minus 10 minutes. The place was falling apart around him. He had no time to mourn Ada. No time to question what she really was. All that mattered now was getting Claire and Sherry out alive. He found them in the central access bay, Claire supporting a weak and feverish Sherry. The girl's condition was deteriorating. Her exposure to the G-virus had begun to accelerate. Leon's mind raced. Somewhere down here had to be a cure. There had to be. They raced toward the escape train, a heavily armored prototype in the subterranean depot. Annette Birkin appeared one final time, staggering from a maintenance shaft, mortally wounded but carrying something precious, an antivirus. "For Sherry," she gasped and collapsed. Leon injected the serum into the girl's arm as the platform trembled. A distant explosion rocked the ground. Time was nearly up. Claire and Sherry boarded the train while Leon prepped the systems. Then, the familiar, sickening roar. He turned just in time to see it emerge from the fire. William Birkin was no longer even remotely human. His final form was a grotesque fusion of muscle, teeth, claws, and rage, a seething, primal embodiment of Umbrella's legacy. It smashed through steel like paper, dropping onto the train car with a bone-rattling crash. Leon yelled to Claire, "Get her to the front, now!" He stood his ground. The last fight was chaos, deafening, violent. Leon emptied clip after clip into the beast. He was flung into the walls, crushed against consoles. Bones cracked. Blood streamed from his temple. But still, he fought. He spotted a prototype rail cannon in the storage bay. Massive, experimental, unfinished. It would take time to charge. He lured the monster toward it, dodging swipe after swipe, until it roared directly in front of the cannon's path. Charging 80%? The creature lunged. 95%. Leon pulled the trigger. The beam fired, blinding, deafening, a lance of blue light that tore through the monster's core. Birkin shrieked, his mutated body convulsing, rupturing. It exploded in a rain of fire and bile. Leon collapsed to his knees. The train's engines powered on. The escape route cleared. He had made it. They had made it. But this wasn't a victory. It was survival, and the beginning of something far bigger. The train sped through the darkened tunnel, groaning as it escaped the crumbling umbrella facility. Raccoon City, once a bustling Midwestern town, was now behind them, burning, breaking, already turning into ash and silence. Leon sat slumped in the rear carriage, his shoulder bandaged, her face bruised. His eyes weren't on the door or the rails ahead, but the floor, still. Hollowed. Somewhere in that hell, something inside him had changed. Claire sat beside him, quiet. Sherry lay across her lap, finally asleep, her fever broken thanks to the antivirus. She looked peaceful, so strange, so fragile after everything they'd seen. "Did we stop it?" Claire asked softly. Leon didn't answer right away. "We stopped him," he said finally. "But not it." They both knew the truth. William Birkin was only a symptom. The G-virus, the cover-up, the illegal bioweapons research, none of that died in Raccoon City's sewers. This ran higher, deeper. Umbrella had built a kingdom of shadows, and they'd only seen its gate. A day later, the U.S. government firebombed the city. The destruction was complete. Officials claimed a gas leak and civil unrest. No mention of the infected, no acknowledgement of the virus. They buried the truth along with the dead. Leon gave his statement to a quiet man in a clean black suit. No badge, no name, just questions. Specific, cold. When Leon asked who he was, the man smiled and slid a card across the table. U.S. Government Special Task Division. He didn't explain. He didn't have to. They offered Leon a choice: testify and disappear or join them. Leon remembered the people who dying to protect Raccoon City. Marvin, Annette, Ben. All the officers who never had a chance. He thought of Ada, who might have been a hero or a villain, or maybe just someone trapped in between. He thought of Sherry, alive because he refused to walk away. He took the job. The world didn't end with Raccoon City. It just got quieter and more dangerous. Leon Kennedy was no longer a rookie. After surviving the outbreak, the U.S. government kept a close eye on him. His unique first-hand knowledge of biological weapons, his performance under pressure, and his sheer resilience made him too valuable to lose and too dangerous to let go. They gave him a new badge. Not one you wore on your chest, but one that came with silence, denial, and full deniability. Leon became a government agent. His first missions were smaller: containment jobs, tracking rogue scientists, silencing escaped test subjects. He quickly learned that Umbrella wasn't just one company. It was a hydra. Even as the original collapsed under lawsuits and criminal investigations, black market divisions continued its work in the shadows. He trained in tactics, close quarters combat, viral biology, but nothing prepared him for the things he saw. Villages decimated by parasites, seaborne labs drifting in the Pacific, fungal infections that turned humans into hive-minded horrors. And sometimes, Ada Wong. She reappeared like a ghost, never aging, never fully explained. Sometimes she helped. Sometimes she vanished with data Leon was ordered to retrieve. Every time he met her, the line between mission and emotion blurred, and each time she left him wondering, was it all a lie, or did she want out too? Leon never said her name in his reports. One mission in South America went wrong. A new strain of virus, codenamed V-Eclipse, infected an entire village. Leon was the only one sent in. The team never arrived. No backup, no extraction. He went in anyway. 3 days later, the outbreak was contained. But Leon never talked about what happened inside, only that he handled it. His superiors promoted him again, not with ceremony, but with trust. When the president's family was threatened years later, they sent Leon. Not an army, not a team, just him. He had become the government's sword against bioterrorism. He carried the weight of Raccoon City, of all its ghosts, into every new battlefield. And he never stopped looking over his shoulder, because he knew one day the past would catch up to him. The man staring back at Leon from the mirror wasn't the same one who drove into Raccoon City all those years ago. His eyes were sharper, older, not in years, but in weight. The world had changed. So had he. The Raccoon City incident, once dismissed as conspiracy, had become a cornerstone of modern bioterror policy. The government admitted to nothing, but the files Leon had written, classified reports buried under layers of clearance, became templates for future outbreak response protocols. His words saved lives, even if no one knew he wrote them. But behind closed doors, Leon remained the first call when something unnatural appeared. Las Plagas in Spain, the BSAA rising in Africa, Neo Umbrella. The list grew longer every year. With every mission, he learned more about the monsters humanity could create, and the darker ones it already was. He never stopped fighting, but he also never stopped dreaming of her. Of Ada. Sometimes, in quiet moments, he imagined a life where they walked away together, two ghosts who had left the fire. But reality always woke him, and in that reality, Leon stayed alone. By choice, because he couldn't afford to be anything else. Sherry Birkin grew up safe under government protection. Claire joined TerraSave, fighting for civilian safety from corporate biothreats. Chris Redfield continued the fight, always one step away from burning out. They all kept going in their own ways. But Leon? Leon endured. He never wanted to be a hero. Heroes got people killed. He wanted to make sure that if another raccoon happened, someone would be there to stop it before it burned down the world. One night between missions, he found himself alone in a dark motel room, not unlike the one he stayed in before it all began. A storm raged outside. He opened a bottle he'd carried since Spain but never touched. He poured 2 glasses. Only one remained full. He raised the other to the darkness and whispered, to the ones we couldn't save. Then he drank, holstered his weapon, and stepped into the night. Because the war never ended, and he was still its soldier.